Hello and welcome to a new episode of Commander Snake's channel. My name is Juan, and today we're going to talk about why bikes got so expensive in the last few years. Let's go. So the question is, why are bikes so much expensive now than maybe 5 to 7 years ago? I remember when I originally started in triathlon, that was around 2008. The most expensive bike was probably the Cervelo P3. Then they launched the Cervelo P4, which was like, back in the day, I was living in Argentina, so it was a crazy expensive bike, unattainable for me. And that was the most expensive bike in the market. And then after that came the Cervelo P5, and right after the Cervelo P5 all the other brands started launching high-end bikes, and they've gotten more and more expensive. Even the Cervelo P5 that originally started around $5,000 back in 2008 or 9, it gotten crazy expensive with the additions of the i2. Now it's eTap as well. But why are bikes so much more expensive than before? And, my take is someone's buying them. So who's buying them? Is it really useful? Is it really a difference between an $800 bike right at a Walmart and a $15,000 bike? What's the difference? Is it just marketing? If you have your opinion, I would love to hear that. Leave it in the comments. And I'm always interested in reading more. I'm not a know-it-all. So this is just a channel with you guys listening to my opinion based on my experience, which is not a lot, but it's just my point of view. So let's start off by asking ourselves, is there really a difference between an iron bike that Mark Allen or Dave Scott used to ride in the 80s and the 90s versus the high-end carbon bike that right now we see Jan Frodeno ride, which is the bike I have? What's the difference? Is it just marketing? I know that, there's been a great breakthrough in materials, and bikes and gotten so much lighter through the years. But, what's the purpose of it beyond, being lighter? Are you faster than before? And if you're faster than before, there's always the guy who will say, like, yeah, but Mark Allen and Dave Scott used to be so fast, and there isn't really much of a difference between the time they used to make before and the time that the guys are making now. True. But science says there is a difference in aerodynamics. There is a difference in weight. And there is a difference in the power and how conservative you are in terms of generating the same amount of power per kilo versus the same guy with an old bike. So what science says is that you may go maybe 1, 2, or 3% faster than before, which again, in Ironman distance, it is a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot. If you're going to pay maybe $7,000 on top of the bike you already have, which is not a high-end bike, to go 3 or 4% faster, or 2% faster for an average guy, or an Ironman distance for a pro guy, that is a lot. So I'm not talking about ourselves, amateurs. I'm talking about pro athletes. That is a lot of difference. And it's not just the time. I think it's more focused on the power consumption, and they are going to need less effort in order to generate a couple more watts. It's not going to be a huge difference according to what I've been reading. Again, if you think otherwise, please leave that in the comments. I'm here to learn as well. But what I see in different papers is that they get to the running portion fresher or less tired than with a bike that is less efficient in terms of generating power. So that's what the studies say. Again, I'm not a know-it-all, but I'm very interested in learning more about that. I think that personally, in my case, I like high-end bikes just because how they look, and I believe that I am a victim of marketing. But that doesn't mean that they help me in a great deal. I know they do to some extent, but again, I'm an amateur. I'm not going to be able to see the same difference that a pro will make out of a bike that worth $15,000 versus $3,000 right now. It's probably an entry bike for triathlon with Shimano 105. Yeah, I mean, bikes keep getting more and more expensive. Right now, you see bikes of $15,000, $16,000 that come with ETAP and all the toys and the gadgets. That is a lot of money. But the thing is, these bikes sell out over and over again, right? So if you think that the $12,000 bike, $15,000 bike sells out over and over year after year, there's obviously a market for it, right? So this may not be applicable in every country. For example, in Argentina, where I'm from, $15,000, that's unthinkable. But it is applicable to other markets where, these brands are probably more focused on, like, for example, the United States or some countries in Europe. But at the end of the day, I still see people in $3,000, $4,000 bikes, which are, don't get me wrong, they're great bikes. But these guys are better athletes than, for example, myself. So they will probably crush me on a $3,000 bike versus me and, a more expensive bike doing the same race, even with the same fitness conditions. So at the end of the day, I don't believe that for amateur triathletes, there's a difference that is measurable. You can't quantify it when it comes to riding a super bike versus a regular bike. But I do believe it's cool. So that's the only reason why I have it. And, I'm very lucky that I can afford it. But at the end of the day, I don't believe there's a huge difference between riding a super bike versus a regular bike. If you think otherwise, again, put that in the comments. I'm very interested in reading everything. I won't do anything to regulate whatever you guys say. I want to read everything, the lovers, the haters. So let me know. So this is it for today. Next time, I'll probably talk about a topic that it's fun, but it's very controversial, which is why triathletes don't usually share the real price of the toys we buy with our significant others. What's the problem behind it? Personally, I think it's ridiculous, but I used to do that in a previous marriage. So, let's talk about that. I think it's going to be super fun. Let me know what you think. If you have funny anecdotes, let me know. Thank you for everything. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. That helps a lot, believe it or not. And thank you very much for watching. Have a good day.